Musings of the Mick, talking about board games and related stuff. Here it is, podcast episode 21. Our podcast is now legal to drink, so crack one open with it. So initially I was like, this is the perfect episode to cover drinking games or alcohol-themed games, etc. Then I realized I've covered a lot of those already, like we already did Drinking Quest. We've already done Drinking Flux. I think the only one I haven't covered on here is On the Rocks. So instead, I came up with another option. Instead, I'm going to look at 3 games from 2021 that are my favorites from that year. So stick around for the game reviews and crowdfunding coverage, and then we follow that up with those 3 games from 2021. All right, so for the reviews this week, we are going to be reviewing a brand new game and a game that's kind of new, at least over here, but was released previously elsewhere. So that new game that we're going to be talking about is Clans of Midgard from Gray Fox Games. In this game, you're going to be dealing 8 cards per player, and in a 2-player game, you're going to be dealing 8 cards to a dummy player named Helga. You're going to select a card and pass the hand to the other player. Helga's cards are not going to get drafted, though. Those are just going to be used to put troops on a map, which I'll get to. After each player has drafted 8 cards by selecting and passing back and forth, everyone's going to lay out their cards and reveal them. Then, each player is going to compare the blessings that they have on the top of their cards, and whoever has the most is going to get the god card revealed. That's going to possibly do some special power or have some kind of endgame scoring. Next, you're going to see which clans you support the most, and then you're going to place your warriors on the map based on what symbols are on the other side of that one. So like if the Wolf clan has this little green symbol on it, you'll put a warrior in the green area. This is where you actually grab Helga's hand, and Helga will do the same with a unused player color. Next, you are going to look at all of your cards. You're going to cross off the runes that are pictured on those cards. You're going to be slaying monsters if you have at least a pair of them, which is going to give you different points. So even if you have 3 or 4, you're only going to slay the monster once. You're going to gain glory as long as it's more than the previous turn. Otherwise, you're going to score 0. And then each player is going to secretly cover their sheet where their drakkars are. And then you're going to be crossing off that based on how many drakkars were on your cards. And that may allow you to disperse more warriors out onto the map. After everyone has dispersed those warriors, you are then going to go region by region, seeing if battles have been triggered. They'll be triggered if their threshold number has been met. For each region, you're also going to check to see if someone has a Valkyrie die, or a Valkyrie symbol. If they have the Valkyrie symbol and the battle is triggered, they will roll the die, possibly adding more warriors. If they do not have a battle in there, then you are just going to cross them off your sheet. You're going to mark off the areas you won and put your little heroes up in this victory section that will be giving you points at the end of the round. Any player who loses is going to grab back their warriors and cross off horns in Valhalla equal to the number of people they have lost. Do this for 4 rounds. Most points wins. This is a really fun one where you might be focusing on different things from round to round. At the beginning, you might start off with like the slaying and really focusing on where you're putting your warriors, but come the last 2 rounds, you realize, wait, you're only missing these last few runes, so maybe you're going to start hunting for those specific runes on the cards, and at that point, you don't even know what you're slaying, you don't know who you're supporting, anything, because you just focus so much on those runes. You can also focus on maybe just winning the battles and saying, you know what, the heck with the runes, don't care about those, I just want to have the warriors, get those points, and worry about everything else, and if I get some runes, cool. So it has that nice smattering of areas that you can focus on and try to accomplish. You can focus on one area, try and do a little bit of everything, try to accomplish as much as you can. I will say so far in a 2-player game, Brian and I both have been able to win all of the areas, so that hasn't been an issue. And I know I've gotten all, if not almost all, the Valkyries in both of the times that we've played. So I am a bit worried in that regards about the replayability, as you always use the same 28 cards for every round. There isn't like this huge deck that you're going through. You're going to play all the cards, and then you're going to grab them all up, shuffle them, and deal them out again. So there's really not that variability in the actual cards, kind of just what luck you get getting dealt what when. Also, for 2 players, having Helga have that hand takes those cards out of rotation, which can hinder you. Most drafting games have like a dummy hand. That way you can get more cards in rotation, cycle through. This one doesn't do that. So I know like the one game, Helga ended up having the W card for the last 2 hands, so we never actually saw it, and that stopped us from scoring quite a bit of points. Overall, though, it is a fun game that we are happy to have in the rotation, and we will have it in rotation, obviously not every day or every week, but it will be definitely one that we do grab out every now and then as we are enjoying the drafting games, which does seem to be our theme of the year so far. All right, next up we have that one that's brand new over here, but has been released over in, I believe it's Brazil, for quite a while, and that is Comic Hunters from Spin Master Games and Arcane Wonders. This game is played over 3 rounds, and each round has 3 different drafting phases in it. So overall, there is 4 different ways to draft in this game, and the ones you do change each round. But each round always ends the same at the convention, and then you building out your collection. So when you draft at the store, you are dealt a hand of cards, choose one, pass the hand around, your typical fashion, kind of like how I just explained Clans of Midgard. The flea market has you choosing to either select a row of cards that have been displayed or add a new card to a row. Each row starts with 1 card. So you're kind of just building out these rows, and the amount of each row is based on player count. The auction has the start player drawing a certain number of cards and splitting them into lots, again based on player count. They then start the bidding on a lot that they choose, and it goes until everyone gets a lot. Sometimes you'll be paying more, sometimes you'll be paying less. What the convention does, it has you creating a 5x5 grid, and then in a snake draft format, players are going to be selecting cards. First, you can move a card inside or outside. Basically, you can move it along a path without having to jump over other cards. You then are going to choose a hero and grab all the cards in a row or column of your choice of that hero. Once the 3 phases are over, you are then going to build or add to your collections. You're going to use the cards you collected to pay for the cards you put out, and each collection focuses on 1 hero and needs to have at least 2 cards. So some comics do feature like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, so you can choose, do you want to put that in your Spider-Man collection or your Doctor Strange collection. After the 3 rounds, you see who has the best collection and who has gone up 3 attribute tracks of the comics, the best stuff like first appearances, first issues, etc. So first, we'll start with the main issue with this game, and that is the production quality. The tokens are super thin. The box feels flimsy. The tokens, when I was punching them out, I felt like I was going to bend them or rip them. The cards themselves are passable at best. Like they don't feel the greatest. They shuffle okay, but they definitely kind of feel mass market quality. The gameplay, however, and the fact that his actual comic covers is pretty awesome. And that is what drew us to the game, is the different drafting mechanisms, the fact that it is actual comics. So just kind of looking and seeing if any of them we've collected or had in the past. And that is that I love those games that do take that central mechanism and add variety to it. So like I said, you're drafting in 4 different ways. So yes, drafting is the main central mechanism, but you're going to be doing it. You're not just going to be doing the same drafting method over and over and over. So that variety does kind of break up the game. Also, really try to manage the cards you need for your collection along with the ones for payment is that nice balance you need to maintain. Like in that convention, you may look and be like, you know what, there's a lot of Doctor Strange there. I'm not collecting him, but that's going to be a lot of cool resources I can use to put out a lot of cards. So that is that really cool kind of balance you have to do, because you can't just grab all the cards you want for your collection, because you're going to need to pay for them, and you can't carry cards over from round to round except for only 2. So this is definitely one we will keep playing, but it may be one of the ones that we actually see about going to like Etsy or somewhere to get upgraded, and maybe even possibly sleeving it so that the cards don't get worn out quickly. So Comic Hunters. All right, that is it for the game reviews. Let's get into a couple of crowdfunding campaigns. All right, the first crowdfunder we're going to look at is Ternanog from Grand Gamers Guild. This is going to be a reprint of the deluxe edition of the base game. As well, they are publishing an expansion and an 18-card escape room game, as Grand Gamers Guild is known to do. Ternanog is a card drafting type game that utilizes workers, and these workers are called storytellers, and when you place them out, you're going to have this grid of cards, and you're going to have them straddling 2 cards. You are then going to have everyone draft back their storytellers, and when you grab it, you can grab either card that they're straddling. So what the expansion is going to be adding is it is going to be adding different modules that you'll be able to add to the game. They actually just announced the first module, and it is a board that replaces the color block scoring, and when you discard the cards at the end of each round, that is going to determine the end game value of the certain colors. They are going to be updating the campaign more during the funding period with more and more details about all the different modules, and they will have all that information up before the campaign ends. So keep checking the campaign to kind of see what each module does add and how it is going to interact with the game. For the 18-card escape room game, we have done some of the others in this type of series. There's the Holiday Hijinks, there's the Endangered Lines. We found them all quite fun. They have some very interesting puzzles and look about them. The fact that they're able to do the puzzles and the abilities that they can with just the 18 cards, front, back, however they want to do them. And with this being then themed after Terra Nog, it is one that we are going to be looking forward to. What I can for sure speak on that I've actually played is how fun and enjoyable the game actually is. We have coverage of all kinds on the channel. If you're looking for something, we have an unboxing that teaches you how to play it. We have a review on it, and I even did a solo play of it that I released on St. Patrick's Day all the way back in March. It does have quite a few different scoring cards that can change up how each game is played, so there is that nice replayability with it in that not every game will be the same because you can choose all the different scoring cards for your top, middle, and bottom row. The cards also have a unique mix of abilities on them. Some allow you to change colors or numbers. Some numbers change based on where they're placed. So it's just kind of this cool game where you have to really manage where you're placing your cards in your tableau. This was an instant back for us because we didn't even know what the modules were about yet, but because we enjoy Terra Nog, we liked what Grand Gamers Guild has done. We've enjoyed the 18-card escape room games, so we were definitely backing this one. The game itself also has been very popular at conventions, so it is definitely the best time to get it. So if you have been going to like Origins or Gen Con, have had a hard time getting it, this is a prime time. The campaign itself ends on September 6th at 5 p.m. CDT. It is $19 for the expansion in the 18-card escape game, $39 for the deluxe edition of the base game, $49 for the game plus expansion, $59 for all in, which is the game, the expansion, and the 18-card game. Next, we are going to move to Koala Rescue Club. This is a joint venture from Postmark Games and Joey Games. Really quick about those two companies, Postmark Games releases a bunch of print and play roll-and writes, and Joey Games is a company formed by Phil Walker Harding and his wife Meredith Walker Harding, making games that mainly for kids that families in general can enjoy with really cool gamery aspects. We have covered the Joey games on the channel before, so you can check for them there. So in Koala Rescue Club, someone is going to roll a die, and that's going to denote a shape that you can do a couple things of. First thing you can do with it is you can plant trees in that shape on your little map, and they have various different maps. Once trees are planted, then on a future turn, you can start rehoming koalas in those trees. Again, using the shape that the die rolled is in. Once you have rehomed the koalas in and filled up rows or columns, you're going to trigger bonuses, which might be a bridge over to more areas for you to fill out, maybe marking off stuff in the hospitals, etc. You will score round 1 after doing 15 rolls, and round 2 after 30 rolls. When you score, you get 1 point for each area that's filled with trees, 1 point for each area filled with koalas, and then you get points for completely filled hospitals. As you may know by now, following this or the YouTube channel, we really enjoy Phil Walker Harding games. He has the ability to take a game that seems very simple, and he just puts a slight twist on it to kind of add just that little bit of complexity or that little bit of gameriness to it, just taking that like very basic gateway game and kicking it up just a little bit of level. This Joey line, as I said, is very basic and kid-friendly, but still has the engagement for older players as well. It's just like this one. It kind of looks kind of kiddish and small, but then once you delve into where do you kind of put the shapes and how are you going to manage that and when are you going to cross over the bridge, it adds that level of strategy and thinking that will resonate with basically any type of gamer. So we do enjoy roll and writes, and this seems to have some of the more fun elements of them that we look for, like the combos, the really puzzly aspect, where to put things, the dual use of stuff, all of that type of things. Trying to figure out when is best to use a shape, as I said, to fill in koalas really seems to be the key, because the shape set by the die means that maybe you filled in the forest in a plus sign, but now the koala's in like the whole like 3 and down one type of shape. So kind of having to manage where you kind of line those up to be able to optimize each roll. The campaign ends August 25th at 6:03 a.m. CDT, so you better rush on over if you are interested. It's only about $7. It's kind of converted, so it's about $7 and some change, I think, maybe $6 and some change. But once you pack, you'll see. And the only other cost is the ink and paper to print it out. Then you can always laminate like we do for our print and plays if you have a laminator. Otherwise, I know most print shops will laminate stuff for you. So those are the crowdfunders. Let's look back at 2021 next. Rolling Realms is a game we have covered on the channel before in unboxings, solo plays, and mega plays. Well, Stonemaier Games just released a new standalone version called Rolling Realms Redux. So between that and a watcher requesting it, we are starting a series of videos looking at the realms more in depth. We have already started by looking at the realms in Rolling Realms Redux, and the base realms video is right around the corner. In fact, we are releasing a video each week on Fridays. After the base realms video, we start looking at all the promo packs in alphabetical order. We are going to grab 10 per video and include timestamps to each realm so it is easy to get just the ones you want. Add to that, it will all be collected into a handy-dandy playlist for easy saving and consulting in the future. So if this is something you have been looking for, or just curious to know how they do it, then head over to the YouTube page and check out those videos. Alright, so let's look at my top 3 games from 2021. Why 3, you may ask? Well, because 2 plus 1 is 3. It's a stretch, but at least it can be viewed as a reason that I came up with, apparently. But after I do carry out these 3 reviews of these 3 games, I will then kind of touch on some ones that didn't make it quite there. So the first one is Millefiori from Devir Games. It goes kind of along with that theme of numerous games so far, that this is a drafting game. This one, each turn, everyone selects a card that corresponds to an area on the board, plays it, and then passes the cards on. When they play the card, they will place a marker out somewhere on the board denoted on that card, and then will more than likely score some points. Each section requires a certain placement and scores uniquely, so kind of like where you put it may score different in this area than the other area. Some areas build upon each other, like as you put more in there, you're going to start scoring more and more points. Some others also help others, as in the ship area, as you're filling stuff up and launch a ship, you may actually give points to other people. Sometimes while going into these areas, you can get a bonus card, and that lets you take one from a face-up display that lets you put out even more markers and thus scoring more points. You play until the deck runs out or someone places their last marker. So that wasn't my best description of games ever, but it was okay, I think. Basically, what you need to know is you're going to have a hand of cards, you're going to select a card, the card's going to tell you where to put it on the board, you put it on the board, you score a lot of points. Bada bing, bada boom, done. And that is what I love about this game, is that you are constantly scoring. You're grabbing a card, you're putting something out, you're getting points. Points. It's just that instant gratification of constantly being able to move your point marker and just seeing your score going up higher and higher and higher. It's also, I enjoy the ability that you can try and focus on one area to get, higher and higher scores in that area, which adds another layer of strategy of people possibly trying to stop you and hate drafting you just so you can't get that. But if they do that, well, then they're opening up another area that you might be able to swing yourself over to. There is a little bit of push your luck element in this game with the ships, because you can load up the ships and then eventually you can launch the ship, but you might want to wait until all the goods are there so you can get a lot more points, but some other people might get points then, or you can just do it quick and get the quick points and cut it off from the other players. It does play super quick and fun with some beautiful markers and ships. Like I said, it's literally drafting cards, putting them out, and just scoring a bunch of stuff. So even though that deck looks big, you are basically almost simultaneously playing. There is a first player. That way, for certain areas, it requires one person to possibly put out before the other. But even then, it's just putting out. So there really isn't much AP, there isn't much other stuff going on in a turn besides just playing it. The 2-player of this version is a little disappointing in that you are only going to be playing 3 cards out of the 5 cards you draw each round, and then the other 2 go into that face-up display, so that face-up display can get pretty big where you're grabbing the bonus cards as the game goes on. But to me, that does kind of work better than the dummy hands or an odd discarding one of have 5 and then choose one and then draw one and then discard one, then pass it and all that weird stuff. It does work easier. It's just a little disappointing only being able to play 3 of those cards. Devir does have this thing called the Devir 500 Club where you kind of back the expansion. It's not necessarily crowdfunding. It's just them, once they get enough interest in it, then they'll fulfill it. So we have backed that. So that should hopefully be coming soon. It adds, I know, a sideboard, more cards. I believe it might tweak the 2-player rule, but it does add more game elements to it. So number 3 is Devir. Number 2 is Cascadia. I'm not going to touch too much on this one. I have a feeling most people know about this game. So it's from Flat Out Games and Alderac. This is, as I insinuated, a hugely popular game where guess what you're doing? You are drafting things. I'm thinking drafting is our favorite mechanism at this point. You are going to select an animal token and tile combo, adding them to your area. The animals can only go on certain tiles, but your tiles can go anywhere attached to your area. I mean, you can't just put it out in the middle of nowhere. But optimally, you want to keep like terrains together for scoring. After each player has selected 20 tiles, the game will end. You are then going to score each animal based on the scoring cards chosen this game. There are a variety of scoring cards per animal. You are then going to score points per tile in each of your largest areas of each terrain type, and then whoever has the largest terrain type in each area gets points based on player count. There are nature tokens you can spend during the game to help with what you can select, like possibly resetting the market or being able to not have to choose a specific combo, choosing one animal and choosing another tile, etc. But then you will also get points for those at the end of the game if they are still there. For us, the youth really likes this one. They really like to implement an elk strategy. This is one that we had played at this little small gaming convention thing in the area. It's one that I initially shied away from having us get because I was really worried about Bry's AP with this, trying to figure the perfect combo and where to put everything. And I will say she's usually pretty good about this one. She was much better on the first play than she's been on subsequent plays, which is a little weird. You'd think it'd be vice versa. But the subsequent plays we have, she has started to slow down a little bit, but it's still nowhere near what I thought she was going to be slowing down to. The other great thing about this game is that strategic depth of where to put your tiles based on the scorecards adds that variability. Like you aren't going to always just want to do this huge area of forest because maybe you need to put your eagle somewhere else, so you have to break the things up to make sure your eagles are lined up well. Or this one specific tile has 3 animals. Well, which animal is going to be more optimal to place on there, and where do you want to put it? So that's kind of like where that strategery comes in this game. I enjoy the fact that because the youth likes it, this is easily one that we can all get together and play. The rules are simple, straightforward. Take the tiles, put them on there. The main complexity and where some people do have an issue with the game does come with how the animal cards score. Some of them, when you read them, can be a bit confusing, might not be 100% sure how to score them, might be a little hard to score, but that's really where the intricacies come in, is the scoring cards. So now my favorite game to come out in 2021 is Meadow from Rebel Studio. This is yet another drafting game, but it's mixed with other elements where drafting is just a core mechanism that helps you build out other things. More specifically with this one is tableau building. You're going to be going around the board, taking turns, and you have these little markers that have the numbers 1 through 4 on them and a couple of special ones, and you have a grid of cards. You're going to take your marker and put it on one of the sides of the grids of the cards, and then you're going to count over that many cards, and that's the card you're going to take into your hand. You're then able to play a card from your hand. You also can use those markers to trigger actions at a campfire site. Will let you possibly play more cards, draw more cards, etc. To play a card, you're going to play it in front of you. Certain cards are considered your base cards that can just go down by themselves, but then after that, when you play a card, the card that it goes on top of needs to have certain tags as you're basically building up like a ecosystem, so forth, kind of a landscape thing there. There are also other like discovery cards and things you can play along the top that require certain things to be able to play and score. So as you're building up your areas, you need to make sure you are doing it strategically so you do have those tags you need for the cards that you're going to want to grab from out in the main display. You're going to end up scoring points for your tableau. Those will have points on them. Certain spots on the campfire will add points, and there's a couple other little tweak of points here and there. So what is it about this game that draws me in? Well, the game has beautiful artwork. The turns just flow nice. Putting it down, grab the card, play a card. And then, but those choices get tighter and tighter as the round goes on, and the markers are out, kind of stopping you from getting to certain cards this round. So maybe you got to go next round and hope that they're there. But then halfway through the game, the entire board resets and you switch out, I believe it's the north deck to the south deck. So now you have a whole different group of animals and plants and insects that you can go after. The last time we did our top games of all time, this was my 12th game of all time. Not quite sure where it's going to play out with our next list. The next time we do it, we'll just have to wait and see. One of the enjoyable things about this is being able to have those proper cards played out, just timed right, to where you can just really build this cool ecosystem. And it makes it just this beautiful tableau builder that you can just enjoy what you've created at the end, this picturesque area. Apparently there's some sort of adventure campaign book coming out soon that seems really intriguing, kind of links your games together. The game itself also contains envelopes that have other cards in it to open at certain times, like first day of spring, Christmas, etc. So it's not just like play these certain games and then do this. Although I think there are a couple of them that are like, if you have so many big predators or something, then open this one. So that was my favorite game from 2021, Meadow. So really quick, here are 5 other games that came out in 2021 that I did enjoy. There's Seven Wonders Architect. This is a really fast, fun, family weight game that's like Seven Wonders where you're trying to build your wonder, but you have basically a deck of cards between you and your other opponents around the table, and then you can basically choose from which side you grab. You want to grab the certain things to get your resources. It is a fun, quick one. The youth enjoys it. Brian enjoys it. It's one we can get to the table. It's been mentioned a lot on this one. 2021 is actually the year the first Rolling Realms game came out, so obviously, of course, we do like that one. It's just, again, I like the drafting mechanism of Malefiore, Cascadia, Meadow better, and just kind of the strategic depth in those. Rolling Realms really gets a lot better as you're getting those promo realms and they start evolving in that gameplay. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition came out. It is probably my least favorite of the Terraforming Mars because I don't like having the one hand of cards to choose your action. Then you gotta go to your other hand of cards. It just kind of seems a little cumbersome to me. Ark Nova came out. This was high on my list of all-time games before. It has cooled on me just because of how hard it is to get to the table, how long it plays, and with Bri and just how slow she tends to play it, it takes me out of the game. So I just don't enjoy the game as much playing it. But to me, it is still a fantastic game to play. And if you can get the right group that plays through it quickly and doesn't take forever on their turns, it is an enjoyable game. The last one is, speaking of Phil Walker Harding earlier, is Explorers. This is a flip and write game that he did where you have these little tiles and you're trying to put X's on landscapes. Pippi did a playthrough of it, but it is a very enjoyable flip and write game. So that is the games from 2021 that I think you should check out, my 3 most favorite, and then 5 honorable mentions. Hope you enjoyed those. And now let's see what is coming up on that YouTube channel. So what is happening over on YouTube? Well, the big weeks are just continuing to go. Our weeks are kind of split, with this week being a few reviews and next week being a bunch of crowdfunder previews with a possible review mixed in there. In addition to those, we have a lot of solo plays coming up. Those include playing a trilogy of games from Sideroom Games, Nestlings, more Conservas, and even more Expedition to Newdale. We will be continuing our series looking at each realm from Rolling Realms individually that we discussed earlier on, and I feel like we will wedge a Lego build tying in with a TV series releasing that week. Finally, we might be up in the whole what does it all do as we keep receiving Kickstarters and new games, so you may be seeing more than one a week of those. And now, the time for ramblings will end with the outro info as follows. Feel free to drop by the YouTube channel or any of our socials and let us know what you like or don't like nicely. Those socials are Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Merry Married Meeple, that's MERRY. On Twitter X, we are at Merry Married, again, MERRY. Also, be sure to head over and check out our Patreon. Link is in the description. Hopefully, in 2 weeks, I'll grace your airways with a retrospective on our YouTube channel after being 2 years in. So, until then, enjoy your days.